Hi, welcome back. I know we are 2 weeks into January already, and I haven't talked about what I'm planning on reading in 2026. So I figured today we would dive into the 20 books that I put on this priority TBR for the year. I stopped doing the number matching the last part of the year because 26 books seems like a lot, and I did not reach the goal of the 25 books I set out to achieve last year. So we're just gonna put it at an even 20. Half of the books are probably books that I already own or I anticipate reading soon, and then some of the other books are coming out later in this year or are ones that I probably should have read by now. It's a good mix and a good mix of genres too. That's kind of what I set out to do. I made this list available on Goodreads because that'll just make it easier for me to go back and review if I need to. And then I'm also going to make a nice little journal spread because that's what I did last year too. First book we're going to talk about is a sci-fi book and a very popular sci-fi book by a very popular author. I want to read Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. This book is getting turned into a film adaptation with Ryan Gosling, and I love Ryan Gosling with my whole heart. La La Land is one of my favorite movies of all time. I just think he's so fun to watch. I do find it interesting that he was the person chosen for this movie, but I have not read the book yet, so I can't say too much else about that. All I know is from what I've heard about the book so far and what I've seen with the movie adaptation, like the trailer, I'm not sure how I feel about it. So I want to be able to have an informed opinion by reading the book and watching the movie. This book follows a science teacher who gets sent out into space on some kind of Hail Mary-esque expedition that's humanity's last hope. And from what I understand, he gets amnesia once he wakes up after a fatal accident happens and his two shipmates are killed. And then we're following him as he's trying to figure out what he was sent to do and how to get back to Earth. That's really all I know. I know that a lot of people say this book is pretty accessible for not super duper heavy sci-fi readers, and I feel like I fit into that category. So I'm hoping this will be right up my alley. Second book on the list is a book that was super popular in the last year. I want to read James by Percival Everett. This is a retelling of Huckleberry Finn, but it's told from the perspective of the African American man that is following Huck's journey, and I believe his name is James, so that's why the title of the book is so. But it should just be an interesting reflection and retrospective of the book, but told from a Black man's perspective. I am going in not knowing as much, especially because I never actually read Huck Finn, which I feel like is a crime because I was an English major and everything. But I have no interest to go back and read Huck Finn if there is a book like this that offers a much more nuanced take on the tale anyway. So I'm going in pretty much open minded and blind to this, and I'm ready to be wowed. Next book is completely shifting the vibe of everything we've already established to very popular, well known books. And this is more like the silly book that I cannot wait to come out because I enjoyed the first two so much. The book I'm excited about is a young adult romance book that is based on D&D and different aspects of D&D. This book is called Roles and Rivalry by Christy Boyce, and all of Christy Boyce's books are companion novels to one another in this series where it's just a bunch of cute nerdy high schoolers who like to play D&D and then people fall in love. Amazing, right? But this one specifically I'm excited about because the mention of band camp and marching band is in the synopsis. And if you don't know, I was a marching band person in high school. It was one of my favorite things actually. So having that combined with D&D just sounds like the recipe for a perfect fun book, and I am so excited to read this. Next is the first physical book I own on the list, and this one's very chunky, so I'm going to try not to hold it up too much, but I want to get to Words of Radiance by Brandy Sandy. This is the second book in the Stormlight Archive series. I have been almost done with Way of Kings for months now, I have under 200 pages left, and I just put as one of my goals for the year is to progress in this series. So even if I finish Way of Kings and just start this book, that's good enough for me. But I didn't put Way of Kings on there because I wanted to motivate myself to get to book number 2. I've had the audiobook ready to go on Libby with that like unsuspended thing that you can do now. So I am very excited to see how Way of Kings ends and how it goes into this one. I won't give you too much of a series synopsis on that because it is a lot. It is a lot. So go look it up for yourself because I'm feeling lazy. Thank you. Next is a little bit of an older book that is bordering on being a modern classic. If you know anything about the dark academia genre, then you are probably familiar with this book and title, but I do want to read The Secret History by Donna Tartt. I absolutely loved If We Were Villains, and sometimes I think back to that book and miss it, but I also just want to know more about like what defined this genre to begin with, and that was this book. We are following like a bunch of classmates who go to this prestigious academy situation. One of them tragically dies, and then we're following the fallout and aftermath of that. It's like a bunch of misfits who are kind of like I don't want to say insufferable, but you know exactly what I mean. Like they're eccentric, they're worldly, they love everything to do with knowledge and gaining knowledge. I want to read this for the vibes. Point blank. I want to read this for the vibes, especially because Donna Tartt is a pretty famous author, all things considered, because she also wrote The Goldfinch. So I want to see what all the hype is about. I have long awaited for this author to come out with another book, and of course, in the summer, which is probably the perfect time for it to come out when I will have a little bit of time off, Miss Rachel Lynn Solomon is coming back with another book. This book is called Extracurricular, and I believe it follows an undergrad student or a graduate student in a psychology program, and she and her professor kind of have interesting vibes with one another. So I'm going in with an open mind on this one. I especially love the way that Rachel Lynn Solomon writes real people. She just has a way of making you care for people, and she also does a wonderful job of like weaving in her Jewish heritage to every single book in a different way. I just really appreciate how she handles romances in a very realistic way with the tender and care that she just knows how to do it. You can tell that this woman is so empathetic and caring and will tell you every single thing about a person, showing their flaws, their beauty. She just constructs characters in such a way that I can't help but root for them. So I'm really excited about this book, and the cover is so cute too. I about lost my mind when I found out this book was coming out. I also have an arc of this book that I'm reading right now too, which is especially exciting because I just got a NetGalley account and I was like, well, it doesn't hurt to, see if I could get a copy of it. And they sent me one. And I'm about 30% of the way through it already. But this book would have been on this list even if I didn't have an arc of it because Natalie Sue wrote my favorite book of last year, which was I Hope This Finds You Well. And she's coming out with her sophomore novel later this year, like late summer, I believe in August. And this book is called You'll Love It Here. And this follows our main character, Mona. She lives in this like apartment complex that's having some problems and situations. It's a very rundown, older building compared to all of like the new age and modern like high rises that are coming into town. But she is asked to go on a break at her marketing firm because of a snafu that she has with one of the clients. And in this break, she is handed off the responsibilities of helping the tenants in the building because the building leader is an older woman who has an accident. And so Mona takes on this responsibility. So she's navigating what she wants to do with her life, what happens after this brief break, and she is actually learning more about the tenants at this place that she had initially only given like nicknames or stereotypes to. And Natalie Sue just has a way of making you care for people that you initially don't think you're gonna agree with anything about them, but she makes them such complex, well-rounded individuals that you can't help but care by the end of the story. I think that this story will have a lot of interesting things to say about like our current housing market, the lives of people compared to profit, and just about personal exploration of what you want out of your life and what work means to you. Natalie Sue has already proved she knows how to write about that, and I just think that this is going to be amazing. It's already really good so far and really funny. She knows how to just write in a way that makes me chuckle out loud. Next up is a book I also have an arc for, which I'm really excited about. This book is called Molka by Monica Kim, and this is her second book. She wrote The Eyes Are the Best Part, which I really enjoyed. It's definitely like a good for her female protagonist kind of story where, men have done her wrong, so she's going to do harm to men. So I'm going to actually pull up the synopsis for this one because I don't think I could recite it like offhand right now. Molka is apparently the Korean term for spy cameras that are secretly and illegally installed, often to capture voyeuristic images and videos. Ooh, it already sounds like it's gonna be really, really weird and disgusting. Yeah, there's no way I would have been able to recite this without looking at it again. It seems like this is going to be a lot about like the invasion of privacy, as well as like people have like perversions and things that you don't really know about like outside of the way that they present themselves at like work and in life and everything. Seems like the setup is the main character falls in love with a guy who's not what he seems. There's an instance with a spy camera. She has to flee, and then she is caught up in a lot of like schemes and other things that kind of make her face the rage of her past, is like how this book is described. I will basically read anything that Monica Kim comes out with now because I enjoyed The Eyes Are the Best Part so much. So I'm willing to go in blind to this one and be pleasantly surprised with the female rage that it induces within me. Speaking of female rage, I think this next book will kind of capture that same sentiment. I want to read I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Hartman. I'm actually already like 30 or 40 pages into this book, and I've got some tabs going, but this book was originally published in like the 90s, and because of its popularity on the internet coming back into the fold, it is now one of those books that everyone is talking about once again. And it's kind of, you know, portrayed as a like dystopian sci-fi type novel where a bunch of women are put in this cave under intense surveillance and what that means for their place in society. It's very much like Plato's allegory of the cave meets like Handmaid's Tale vibes, much more in like the Plato's allegory of the cave. And I'm enjoying it so far. The writing is very solid in this book, and I think it's got a lot of interesting themes to explore through the lens of feminism. I'm excited to see how I feel continuing throughout this book because I know a lot of people either land on like 5 stars, absolutely amazing, or like 4 stars, very good, very thought provoking. So I'm interested to see where I land. Next read is probably gonna be the toughest read that I have all year for subject matter and content. The book that I want to read is One Day Everyone Will Have Always Been Against This by Omar El Akkad. And this book deals with the bombings in Gaza, as well as talking about futures promised to immigrants and violence that is thrust upon them. This is a great story, and it's like a nonfiction, raw depiction of everything bad that's going on and how the West kind of covers up the severity of our actions and what is harming real live people. I know I have a friend who said this book is absolutely amazing, but she had to read it in chunks. So I just know that this book will spark a lot of important conversations, not only online that I can engage with, but also with people in my real life that are trying to learn more about the people that have been affected by this level of violence. I just think anything that talks about violence and our perception of it in the West versus in other places is super important. And I think this will be the most important book I read all year. The other nonfiction book that I have on this list is called Girl on Girl: How Pop Culture Turned a Generation of Women Against Themselves by Sophie Gilbert. So, Sophie Gilbert is a criticism journalist, and this is her take on feminism in like the 1990s, early 2000s, and how like the exploitation, over sexualization of women has like dire consequences for those in the spotlight versus outside of the spotlight. This book is more of like a historical take and analysis of how the rise of social media and rise of internet culture has warped the collective consciousness of women, and how those misogynistic tendencies and pervasion of culture has leaked into our society today and how it's shaped how we view women in society today. I think this book is it sounds so important, and it sounds like it's going to be really, really great for conversation starters, especially as someone who was like born in the early 2000s and kind of saw like the tail end of this. I'm curious to see what the progression has been from then to now and how much of it I identify with or relate to. I think this is going to be a really interesting read to sink my teeth into and to annotate and take a lot of notes on. Next up is a book that I'm so excited about because I loved this author's book, First Time Caller. This is the second book in the Heartstrings. I don't know if it's going to be like a series or what, but it's by B.K. Borison. This book is called And Now Back to You, and this follows our weatherman who was in the first book and how he starts to kind of have a thing for one of the journalists on set as well. I believe, I'm trying to remember their names. Yep, it is Jackson and Delilah. Okay, my brain was right. Be nice to yourself. But okay, I believe it's Jackson is kind of like the buttoned up, like perfectionist type person, a little high strung, and Delilah is more of like the fun, outgoing, like find your inner child kind of adventurous gal. And they kind of team up to bring out the missing aspects in each other. And I think it's going to be adorable and so much fun. And oh, there is a giveaway on Goodreads, and I am going to enter that. I already like have this book saved on my Libby app as well because I am so excited for it. I didn't think I was gonna enjoy First Time Caller as much as I did, but here we are. Next book is the adult debut of, I would say, one of my new favorite authors and YA authors at that. This is C.G. Drew's new book, You Did Nothing Wrong. All I know for sure is in blimps. We have a haunted house of some kind, more botanical horror, spooky vibes. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, those bullet points were actually not too bad, but to give you like something tangible to hold on to, here's how Goodreads describes it in 2 sentences at the end. A pulse pounding, clever take on the haunted house novel, You Did Nothing Wrong examines the complexities of motherhood and the twisted bonds of family as it races to its shocking ending. It sounds like there's a single mother who moves in with a new husband, she's got a new baby on the way, and her family is trying to navigate this new house, new situation. Everything seems perfect until it's not, which sounds really interesting. It's also like gothic influence, but it's going to be a nice mix of like mystery, thriller, horror, and gothic, which I know C.G. Drews does exceptionally well every single time without fail. The book is also compared to The Push by Ashley Audrain, and that is one of my favorite thrillers. So, very excited about this one. Next on the list is a book that I probably should have already read by now, knowing my love of literary fiction. But this book is Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver. This book is a retelling of David Copperfield, and we're specifically following a young boy who grows up in like extreme poverty, and we're kind of examining his life with his single mother through the lens of how institutions and things are not built to help those in poverty and instead make it harder to live. So we're talking about his experiences growing up and how he has to fight his way to have a quote unquote normal life. I have not read a book by Barbara Kingsolver yet, which I feel like is a crime, but this book has incredible ratings. Like it's almost at a 4.5 on Goodreads, and I am so excited to dive in. This book is thick, but I already know that once I start reading it, I'm not gonna be able to stop, and I know I'm gonna love it. We're getting to the end. Next up on the list is Catabasis? Something by R.F. Kuang. I have read almost all of R.F. Kuang's books. I only have to read The Burning God and this book. I have heard mixed reviews about this book. It was either on people's like best books or worst books of last year, and I don't want to I still haven't spoiled anything for myself, which I'm actually kind of impressed by. But I want to go into this book with my own objective lens because I know I love R.F. Kuang's writing. I've given everything I've read by her 5 stars, but also I want to see kind of where the critiques and criticisms of this book are coming from. I believe this book follows a graduate student by the name of Alice, and she has to pair up with a like not a colleague but like a classmate, that's the word, to go into the depths of hell to save a beloved professor so she can get a letter of recommendation from him. And then in the depths of hell, like they're based on like the 7 circles of hell, and like it's this interesting journey that they go on. I don't know much else other than that. I'm aware of some of the criticisms, but I don't want to speak on it until I actually read it. And I'm curious for my own sake because I love R.F. Kuang so much and I want to see where this one falls on my tier ranking of her books so far. Next on the list is another like sci-fi dystopian type book. It's like interesting to see the rise of dystopia novels kind of coming back into the fray, but this book is called The Dream Hotel by Layla Lalami, and we follow a woman who is incarcerated for something that she is not guilty of. She's obviously innocent, but she's kept in this prison where like the overseers have the ability to pull things out of people's dreams or like look into people's dreams and connect it to how likely they are to commit a crime. So this book deals all with like, you know, invasion of privacy, taking people's information without asking what they do with that information, and all of the ethical concerns that comes with it. I am so curious, especially in like this modern age of data collection, how you can't go anywhere without them asking for your first and last name. If they can track your location, they ask for an email always. Like there's always something that companies and things are trying to get from you too. And I'm very interested to see what this book's take is on the data collection and like trying to use that either against people or to justify certain things. But I'm really excited about this one. If you haven't heard about this next book, you have truly been living under a rock because this book has one of the highest Goodreads ratings I've ever seen in my life. It's at like almost a 4.6. It's the first in a series, and the second book just came out. This was also on like everyone's favorites of like maybe even 2024, I think, at this point, and I still haven't read it because I was waiting for the paperback to come out because the paperback is so cool. But this is The Will of the Many by James Islington. I am so curious about this book. Everyone says the ending is fantastic, and I really think the setup sounds amazing. Like the magic system is basically described as like a multi-level marketing scheme where you can like siphon will to someone in order to gain power, but then if you're in power and you have a bunch of people siphoning to you, then you get more power. Like it sounds really interesting. We're following a character who basically is going into this academy as a spy and he's trying to make the system crumble from within. I don't know much else other than that. All I know is I'm really excited. I've heard great things, and there is a second book out, so I don't have to wait to find out what's going to happen next, which sounds amazing. These next two books, I feel bad. They're repeats from last year's list, and I didn't get to them, but I will get to them this year, I promise. Especially because one of the books I've had two of my besties tell me that I need to read it, and I haven't yet. But first, we'll start with On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Vuong. This is like a shorter literary fiction book. It's basically a Vietnamese boy writing letters to his mom talking about his experiences in the United States, dealing with race, class, cultural oppression, all of the above. But I hear the writing in it is actually like very beautiful, and I'm really tired of talking about this book when I haven't read it yet. So I'm going to hold myself to it. It's short, it's snappy, it's heartbreaking. It sounds like everything that I would love in a book. So it is on the list. And then the other book that I have not read, which is criminal at this point, according to my friends, is Betty by Tiffany McDaniel. Betty follows the tale of a young girl growing up in an indigenous family, and they live in like a rural part of Ohio. It's talking about generational trauma as well as like the violence and oppression that comes with being indigenous in that space. And she talks about all of the harrowing things that her family goes through and how it affects her growing up. I've heard that this tale is absolutely beautiful. A lot of people use the word devastating, which anytime you can describe a book as devastating, you know I'm gonna read it. So I need to move this one up my up my TBR because I have people breathing down my neck to read it, and I know I'm gonna like it. I really like this quote on the back too that says, "A girl comes of age against the knife." Oh, oh, if the writing is like that, I already know this is gonna be a slam dunk. Gonna be so good. Final book that I want to talk about kind of rounds out the feminist dystopia that I have been seemingly sprinkling throughout this TBR, but this is a classic book that I've not read. I want to read The Handmaid's Tale. by Margaret Atwood. I think this book will make me rage in a certain way, but it is so like pivotal to pop culture now that there's like a show, it's required reading, it's been banned multiple times, and I think it has a lot of really great things to say. I just want to be able to be part of the conversation by reading this book. I also know at the library that I work at, our seniors are about to start reading this, and I want to be able to engage critically with them as well. I feel like this book is long overdue on my list. So I'm hoping that I will get to it and I will be able to like annotate it and enjoy what it has to say. Don't mind me as I try to move all these books back over. Stack of books that I want to read. Sorry if this video was a little disoriented, but that is how I feel right now, and that is okay. I am hoping to get the excitement of wanting to read back into my being. I started off the year by reading a lot of like manga right out the gate, and I just finished two books finally, but for like the first 2 weeks of this year, I had not read like a single novel, and it's about to get even busier. So I'm hoping at least if I don't read as much as I would like, I can at least read the ones that are on this list. And maybe I'll come back at the end of the year and check and make sure that I did the things I said I was gonna do. But if you made it to the end of the video, thank you for being here with this little chaotic video of me trying to figure out how to accurately talk about the synopses of books that I have not read yet. And I will keep you updated on my reading throughout the year. Subscribe if you want, leave a like and a comment. Thanks for being here. I'll see you next time. Bye.